Our capacity to love comes from first being loved ourselves. Our capacity to love comes first from being loved ourselves. There were people in small village communities high in the Bolivian mountains who lived at subsistence level. Throughout the long histories of these small Bolivian villages, the villagers had been abused and used by the mining companies. They were forced to work in the silver mines originally by the Spanish. And there came a time when the silver mines started to cease production. And the people in the Bolivian villages literally lost hope. They didn't look after themselves, they didn't look after their children. Until one thing changed for the community. Yolanda, a doctor, and Cristo, her husband, an expert on agriculture, came to live in those Bolivian mountain communities. And they started to care for the villagers and to look after the villagers. Yolanda, as a doctor, began to take an interest in the villagers. And Christologia, as an agriculturist, started to teach them about farming and looking after the land. And so the villages slowly started to change. Same things started to happen. The mothers started to brush the children's hair. They started to take a care in their appearance. And there came a stage when they were being abused again by the mining company that was flooding their river with effluent. But they had the self-courage to take that company to court themselves. And all because first they had been loved and shown that they were cared for. And thus they had built up their self-respect and enabled them then to take on for themselves issues of justice. I've been very sad this week because a dear friend of mine called Victor Hallett, who ran Books Unlimited at the top of the High Street in Prestatyn, sadly passed away, and Victor's funeral is going to be here in All Saints next week. And Victor was a key person in my life because he had a great love of books. Running a bookshop, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? But he had this wonderful love of books. In a way, he was a gatekeeper in that bookshop, but it was a gatekeeper that welcomed everybody in because he wanted to share his love of literature, his love of wonderful stories with other people. And Victor had a great talent because he knew his customers. He knew what their likes were. And so he had this great talent of being able to recommend particular books he thought they might like. And he opened up exciting new worlds for people. And people's confidence in reading and literature grew because Victor showed care and love to his customers. I remember being quite fanatical about science fiction in my younger days, and Victor just recommending to me various books that he thought I would love. I remember being interested in hard-boiled American crime novels and Victor opening up to me the wonderful world of Raymond Chandler and Philip Marlowe, Dashiell Hammett, James N. Carn, all these wonderful detective stories from 30s America. And my confidence in reading and growing in literature grew because I knew Victor had my back. I knew Victor was interested in what I was reading, and I loved to have long, long conversations with him. And so I grew in confidence. And really, my sermons, if they are any good, are really a reflection of that wonderful relationship I had with Victor from Books Unlimited. Jesus says to us, "Love one another as I have loved you." In the face of it, that is such a simple command, but it can be very difficult. because it means giving of ourselves freely and openly, giving of ourselves in relationships. Jesus asks each one of us, I love you. I want the very best for you. I know you by name. You are loved. And he asks us, because we are loved, to go out to others, to give of ourselves in love, to spread his good news of love and hope, his gospel of love in our world. As I have loved you, go out into the world to share that love. When we know that we are valued and that we are loved, then we can let go of defending ourselves and are able to truly love others. Small communities in Bolivia received love, and that love spread until people smiled and obtained justice for themselves. That growth of self-value grew, and so did their love for others, but all because that the Leander and Cristolo loved them first. In fact, the story goes that in those Bolivian communities, many young mothers named their babies Yolanda, after that doctor who had shown such love to them. And the question that our gospel asks each one of us is, are we truly loved? Do we feel that sense of being loved in our own lives? If we don't, then we can never truly love or be the people that Jesus wants us to be. There's a wonderful little story about a town traveller. A man was walking down the road until he spied a farmer, and he approached this farmer and asked him, "Sir, I have travelled many a mile, and I'm thinking of settling in the next town down yonder." "Tell me," the farmer asked, tell me, the traveller asked, "what kind of people are there?" And the farmer asked, "What kind of people were in the town that you just left?" And the man replied, "Oh, it wasn't so good, I'm afraid. The people there were selfish and self-serving, indifferent, just out for themselves, couldn't care about you or what happened to you." And the farmer said, "But I'm afraid you'll find those kind of folks in the next town." The man thanked him and went in a different direction. Later that day, another traveller passed by and asked the same question to the farmer. "Sir, I have travelled a long way and I'm thinking of settling in the next town. Tell me, what kind of people live there?" And the farmer asked, "What kind of people were in the town that you've just left?" And the man replied, "Well, it was so hard to leave that community in that town. People sang with you in the good times and helped you in the bad times. It wasn't perfect, but people were good and friendly." And the farmer said, "You'll find the same kind of folks up in the next town." I have now done 31 years of ministry in the church in Wales, and in 31 years it's always tempting to look at the other person's patch and think their grass is much greener than them, that the parishioners are much more friendly in the next church, that there are always better opportunities just down the road, instead of asking the simple question, do I feel truly loved myself? And if not, is that reflecting on my own sense of well-being, on my own sense of belonging, on my own sense of being loved? Do I know that I am truly loved? Because if you know you're truly loved and you're able to give of love, then people wherever you are respond to that light and that love. Do I know that I am truly loved? Jesus knew that he was truly loved by his Father in heaven. Because of that firm basis of love, he is able to go out to give of himself. Last week he said, I am the true vine. And as we know, when he was writing about the true vine, it was all about the relationship of love, how we're all connected, how one part knows it is loved, another part will flourish and grow and develop. Jesus knew he is loved, and he sent out shoots of love into the world. We felt those shoots of love in our own lives and in our own hearts. And then we're asked to shoot out those shoots as well, to touch other people with love and light and hope. But we can't do that unless we know we are truly loved. One of my favourite films is Shadowland, starring Anthony Hopkins and Claire Bow. And it's about C.S. Lewis and his love of his wife Joy. And C.S. Lewis was a bit of a stuffy academic, lived a bit of a closed life, didn't really feel perhaps that he was truly loved. And then he met Joy, and Joy transformed his life, bringing love and a sense of belonging, bringing hope and light. And because of that, C.S. Lewis's own Christian life started to flourish, and he wrote great writings of spirituality. In the film, C.S. Lewis, or Jack as he's known in that, tells his brother that when someone you love suffers, you want to take on that suffering. And that just shows how much C.S. Lewis had opened up from being a rather distant, closed, bound-up figure to somebody who wanted to share the good times and in love share the bad times as well. Do we know that we are truly loved? There is a Jewish proverb that says this: if a person is cruel to themselves, how can we expect them to be compassionate to others? If a person is cruel to themselves, how can we expect them to be compassionate to others? Do you know you're truly loved? Do you know you're truly forgiven? Do you know you are of value? You are unique. You are precious. Because if you do, then you too will bring hope and love and light into our world.